Hold up.
Every day I wake up, wake your ass up.
The Breakfast Club.
Y'all finished or y'all done?
Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, Jess Hilarious, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. Loren LoRosa is here as well. We got a special guest in the building.
He's at our table.
He's at our table. Yes. He's an attorney. He's a politician, and he is the former chair
of the DNC.
Yes, DNC. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Jaime Harrison. Welcome,
Thank you all so much for having me.
How are you, my South Carolina brethren?
Man, I'm good. You know, I'm not traveling as much. I'm like shuttling the kids back and forth from soccer practice and swimming lessons and violin lessons and all that other stuff. Now I can just be a dad, and then I got my podcast stuff. So you know, it's different, but it's good to be able to be at home with my kids and my wife, and you know, of course, my blood pressure still goes up when I see all this crazy shit that's happening.
I was going to say, how do politicians adjust when you make that transition? Like, do you ever fully just relax?
It's a hard adjustment. It really is, because when you are in the mix all the time and in the storm, like all you know is how to deal with like buckling down for that. And so when you get a time where it's sort of peaceful, you don't know what to do with yourself, right? And so you get online and you start seeing things, and it starts stirring you up, and you just get a little unhinged. And so I'm just happy that I got this, you know, the podcast and all this other stuff that I'm doing, is it gives me an outlet to get some of that out. Because otherwise, I mean, I'd be bouncing off the walls.
Is this what you saw yourself doing after being former DNC chair?
You know, Charlamagne, I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. I mean, I had hoped that Kamala Harris would have won, and she would say, "Jaime, why don't you go be ambassador over there? I don't know, some
island or something."
Yeah, somewhere, and you know, my wife and I can relax and invite y'all over. You know, come down to the ambassador's residence in the Bahamas, and we. But I don't know. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I think I'm at one of those. I'll be 50 next year. I'm at one of those midlife, not a crisis, but a crossroads. And you know, you're just trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the next phase of my life. And the one thing
Sound like a Democrat.
No.
It's like the whole party.
Yeah, you're right. It is a whole party. But you know, the one thing I do know is, and this is it's like 10 toes down on it. I see where the country is going, and I see so many reflections of what we grew up in South Carolina, and I just know that I'm not going to allow my sons to grow up in a world like my grandparents grew up in. So I got to figure out what it is that I have to do in order to prevent that from happening, because little by little, every day we see something new. But that's my one commitment that I know that I am definitely set on. Like, you know, we got to figure out ways for this to be better, because it right now it's scary.
So the chair of the DNC, what was your position? What was your job?
Well, the chair of the DNC is very different when you have the White House and when you don't have the White House.
Break it down.
So the Democratic National Committee is, in essence, it's the organization, a national organization for the Democratic Party. We got 57 states and territories that all have state Democratic parties, and they all work with me. Now, I'm not their boss. It's sort of a partnership, a collaboration. And what we really do is we're the infrastructure for the party. So the people who knock on doors, the people who make phone calls, the volunteers, making sure that resources are on the ground to do those type of things. And when you have the White House, what you become is, in essence, an extension of the White House political team. Your boss, like, instead of people say, well, you're the chair of the Democratic Party. No, I'm a conduit in this system, right? I get my instructions from the White House on what to do. Now, Ken Martin, who's the new DNC chair, he doesn't have a boss, right? Because there's nobody in the White House. When you have the White House, the president is the head of the party. When you don't have the White House, it is very diffuse, it's broken down. And so what you do at the DNC is you build the infrastructure for the next campaigns, the next elections that take place, like the door knockers, whether you're going to do, the party hasn't done registration really the way that it needs to. But all of those things that you see on campaigns, that's what the DNC does. And it works with its other sister committees, the DCCC, which is the Congressional Campaign Committee, the DSCC, which is the Senate Campaign Committee. So you don't control the whole thing. You just get a slice of the pie. and you just try to focus your energy on building up that infrastructure.
So there was always rumor that the DNC were the ones that, quote unquote, picked who they wanted to be.
And that's a bunch of baloney.
Stop it, Jamie. That's not baloney.
Oh, man.
But that's what they say. They said they pick somebody who they feel
You a podcaster
will be
now, you can
the
touch
president.
You can tell the truth.
Well, I am telling the truth. Tell me with the power I have to pick. If I'm the DNC chair, what power do I have to pick? Like people say, well, you could have told Joe Biden to not run. Like, seriously?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could have said that.
I could have.
Nobody was against him during that time.
You could have and should have.
I could have. And do you think he would have listened? This is the most powerful. No, Charlamagne.
Talking about, to your point,
he did listen finally.
Somebody did listen to him. He did listen to somebody finally.
No, I think
so. Everybody should have told him earlier.
I think ultimately what the president saw was that this fight is actually tearing the party apart, and I don't want that to be on me.
Stop it, Jamie.
No, I'm not. I'm telling you the truth.
You're not beholden to them no more.
No, it's not about being beholden to them. I'm telling you the truth.
That man was too old. Everybody knew he was too old.
But Charlamagne,
he should have been a transitional president from the beginning.
Charlamagne, I get all of that. But you know what? Somebody should have stepped up. If people thought that Joe Biden was too old, then some real people should have stepped up and said, you know what, I'm going to run.
But then they get their ass handed to him.
I was about to say, what does that look like with no support?
Y'all kick him out.
Look, is Dean Phillips serious?
It don't matter.
No, honest.
Now, Jamie, you're acting like that is the normal process of things. Yes, just challenge the sitting president.
No.
y'all crucify people for that.
Well, this is it. Well, you telling me, you saying, well, that's not the normal. And you're saying, is it normal for the DNC chair to say, Mr. President, you need to sit down?
Yes,
that is not normal.
Yes.
No, it is not.
If George Clooney can say it, if Charlamagne the God can say it, if all these people who are not in politics can say it, but Jake Tapper book, I read the book, said President Biden walked up to you, shook your hand.
That's a bunch of bullshit.
Didn't even know who you were.
That's a bunch of bullshit.
I don't believe that, Jamie.
Well, why don't you believe me?
Because I believe that actually happened.
For people that don't know what happened.
He said that Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson wrote in their book, Original Sin, that Biden shook DNC chair at the time, Jamie Harrison's hand, and didn't recognize who he was.
Probably didn't
remember. And Jamie said he was lying.
I said that is bullshit because it was bullshit. Every time that Joe Biden always related me to Jim Clyburn, right? So
he thought you was Jim Clyburn.
No, shut up. No, come on.
I knew that was going
you podcasting
now. You walking into things.
I walk right into that shit.
You're gonna be clipped.
I walk right into that shit.
Oh man.
No, but every time because Joe and Jim have a really close relationship. Now they trust each other and all. And so every time he's gonna be like, "How's Jim doing?" And every single time that's his lead-off question. How's Jim doing? And you tell Jim he needs to give me a call every single time. And so was President Biden old? Yes. I mean, he was damn old. But when you take a look at it, Charlamagne, when you look at what this man was trying to do, I'd rather take an old Joe Biden on a respirator right now than a goddamn Donald Trump right now who's destroying this country.
That type of rhetoric is exactly why y'all lost.
Well,
and what I mean by that is America shouldn't have to choose between a Donald Trump
then people need to step
and an old man on a respirator.
Charlamagne.
I shouldn't have to choose between authoritarian strategy and an old man on a respirator.
Charlamagne, you can't win something if you don't have somebody to get in the contest to run against.
And if Joe Biden would have said, "Hey, I'm gonna be a transitional president. I'm only gonna be here for 4 years," that would have gave you as DNC chair and the party a whole lot of time to get a good candidate.
But he didn't. Right.
That's right.
We could have, if I was 6'5" or 6'10", I'd be playing basketball right now, and $1 million house, but I don't. Right. Mm-hmm. So that did not happen. So when that did not happen, then what you got to do is play with the cards. It's like you playing spades, right? Mm-hmm. Man, if I would have gotten a deuce here and this and that, then I could have won that hand. Mm-hmm. No, you play with a hand that you dealt with, right? And so in the end of the day, Joe Biden decided to run. Nobody decided of significance decided to challenge him. So therefore, that is the horse that you have to ride.
Well, do you put any blame on the Democratic Party? Because there clearly was a lot of people who saw a decline and decided not to say anything. But if they would have maybe rang the alarm, then maybe other people would have been like, you know what, I am going to run.
I don't know about that, to be quite honest, Charlamagne. I mean, the reason why you elect the president is to get shit done, right? That's the reason. Not because they look good in a suit, not because they're young or old or whatever. It's to get stuff done. And if you take a look, objectively speaking, you take a look at all that Joe Biden got done legislatively and you compare it. You can compare it to Ronald Reagan. You can compare it to George W. Bush, to Barack Obama, Bill Clinton. There has not been a president that got more done legislatively than any president since Lyndon Baines Johnson.
I agree with you, but getting things done don't win campaigns, sadly. Not in this day and age.
But that's why you send somebody to Washington, D.C. to get stuff done for you, to do stuff for your community, to move things forward. And we see the contrast now of somebody who doesn't get things done or gets things done that actually hurts people. Why send a young person, Jim Carter, I remember once when I was a young staffer in his office. And he said, I was bitching about, some of these older people just need to sit down and let some of these young folks stand up. And he said to me, he was very quiet. He listened to me just rant and read. And he pushed back in his chair and he said, Jaime, let me ask you a question. Which would you prefer, an old Thurgood Marshall or a young Clarence Thomas? And I sat there and I thought about it and I said, okay, I see what he said, yes, age is important. But it's also about your values. It's about who you are, what you will fight for, who you will fight for. And so that's a part of the package. Yes, Joe Biden was old. I get that. But we also know that this man was committed to certain things to make things better for folks. Did he do it perfectly? No, we don't. None of us do anything perfectly, right? There's nobody that has walked this earth that is perfect but the Son of God. And hopefully he'll come back again sometime soon.
I wouldn't waste my time.
Well,
if I was him.
See, I hate the old conversation because it just wasn't. He just wasn't just the fact that he was old.
Yeah.
It just wasn't the fact that he was old because we know a lot of people that are 80-year-old and are on point. He just felt like he wasn't on point. It felt like my rest in peace to my mother-in-law. It felt like he had early signs of dementia she had. So the signs that I seen with her were the signs that I was seeing with him.
Yeah.
Forgetting names, shaking people's hands that weren't there. It just seemed a little bit, and it had nothing to do with old. It had to do with the fact that I just didn't think he was 100%.
I mean, listen, as
You
somebody
say I agree, but you took it.
No. As somebody who interacted with the president a lot in 2024, a lot. I mean, I flew on Air Force One to Eddie Bernice Johnson's funeral with him from Charleston to Dallas. Mm-hmm. And we spent an hour and a half, and he basically was giving me a history lesson of what's going on all across the world. No notes, and it's just a very casual conversation. But yes, I knew he was old, right? And he did some of the mannerisms that old people do. But in terms of like his mental acuity and his sharpness, he knew it all. And you better, like, if he asks you a question, you better know the answer to it, right? And so, like, seeing the frame that was built around, and then seeing the reality of my interactions, my personal interactions with him, that it was not always the same, right? It wasn't, and so that's part of my frustration. Is like, guys, I understand that this guy isn't perfect, but you know what? We also have a vice president. So in the end of the day, if he can't perform, you got a vice president that is there who can.
I don't
right?
think, to me, it wasn't anything. His age definitely played a part in it. But it's the fact that Democrats suck at messaging. And all the good things that somebody like the Biden administration did, y'all didn't know how to message, and y'all just suck at campaigning. And I think that y'all about to make the same mistake because you're still on some we good, they bad stuff. Clearly, America don't care about that.
Well, listen, what I think we have to do on the messaging side, one of the things, the problem that Democrats have, and I say this as a party, and I said this as a party chair, is that we send people to Washington, D.C. who want to get stuff done, who are policy wonks. Many of them are really policy nerds, right? All they want to do is they want to go to D.C., they want to write their bills, they want to get something passed and solve an issue that the people in their communities are dealing with. The Republicans are reversed. They want to go to Washington, D.C. to have power, right? Either power to block something or power to or power to move things forward. And they know that, they don't need to be versed in all of these policies and all that. And so they just focus on the politics of it. Whereas Democrats don't like to focus on the politics. They just like to focus on the policy. But that's not always good because you also need the politics part. Like, you got to be able to sell what you've been able to do. One of the things I tried to get the president, people in the administration to do is, I said, Mr. President, and I said this on this flight that we took. We were down in Charleston, visited Mother Emanuel, and then flew to Dallas.
Is that when he pooped his pants, allegedly?
Man, I don't know what the hell you talking about.
I'm serious. They said that the last time he visited Mother Emanuel and me, he pooped his pants.
Charlamagne, you saying something that literally.
I'm not even joking.
Man, that's some crazy. That's some crazy talk.
Serious.
That's some crazy talk because I was, again, with the president all day. We even went to, what's the soul food restaurant that we went to?
Hannibal's.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm telling you. I'm not even joking. I heard that they said last time he was there, they said he pooped his pants.
Man,
and they said he was taking so long to come out. So local law enforcement was asking the Secret Service what's going on. And somebody in the Secret Service said, look, the president just...
He shot it. That
So many headlines asking, they're trying to figure out, did he poop his pants?
Man, that's crazy.
I'm not spreading no gossip. This is not a secret.
No, well, I never heard of that.
You didn't smell it.
No, exactly. Y'all are crazy.
So I didn't hear it.
Y'all are crazy as hell. Y'all are absolutely crazy as hell. Just crazy.
Smell something, say something.
Let me get to my story, man.
Sorry, go ahead.
Hell, what was I trying to say anyway before Charlamagne ended up pooping the pants?
You was lying about something, man.
Y'all
come on,
man. You said you told him to do
something.
You told the administration to do something. Y'all were on the flight.
So because part of it is about selling what you do, and I told the president, because as I went across the country, people weren't connected. We pass all this stuff, but people weren't connected to the stuff that we actually pass. Like the student loan stuff. There are a lot of people who qualify for all of the student loan relief, but they didn't know how to get it, right? And so I said, well, Mr. President, why don't, and I said the DNC can actually do this. We can open up, we can call them Biden empowerment centers all across the country, basically where people could come in and say, I'm trying to get some of that Biden student loan money. I'm trying to figure out how to do a small business, $20,000 at small business grants. But I don't know how to get that money. I'm trying to do something in terms of the broadband and all that other stuff. And I said, you can have these all across the country so that people are now then connected to the resources that you are actually bringing into the community. Because part of the problem is that people didn't know how to get it, right? You had the money there, but people can't access it. And he was like, oh, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. I thought it was going to move forward. I thought that we would do something about it. But the one thing that, and I'm writing about this now in my book, the one problem that you have is, like, if these ideas don't come from certain people that are in the sort of universes around the president or the vice president, then they never see the light of day. They never crystallize. And that is part of the fundamental problems that we have right now within our party, is that we got to break through some of these things. You got these gatekeepers who want all of the power, all of the control, all of the influence, and don't want other voices to come break in to say, we're not doing this right. We need to talk to these people. We need to bring these people into the room. And so that's part of my big frustration as DNC chair. It was that, there are a lot of things that we wanted to do, a lot of bells that we were ringing very early on about this group, that group. But the president or the vice president never actually really heard them because the gatekeepers kept that information from them.
Did you start your podcast at our table because you wanted to kind of counter, I guess, the manosphere?
Yes. No. What I wanted to do is I wanted to build our own frame, right? I get so tired of our folks.
I love how that South Carolina came out of you and you told the truth initially.
What?
Okay.
But now you're giving us the political answer.
No.
You're like, yes. And then you're like, well, actually.
No. But what I want to do is build our own frame, because what I got tired of is, we would have our Democratic candidates who would go on CNN or MSNBC. They get 5 minutes to talk about whatever. And then the media itself would build a frame to define who that person was. Right. And it's the same reason why I had Hunter Biden on my podcast. He was one of the first interviews, because you could say Hunter Biden and all you know about Hunter Biden is what you heard on Fox News from people who oppose them, or maybe something that you may have read from somebody from the administration. But you never heard the man talk in his own words. You never heard him go out and defend what he did or to accept blame for what he did. You never heard him talk about his father and defend his father and all that stuff. And I always feel like give people a vehicle so that they can put in their own words where they are.
I agree.
And then you can make a decision based off of that. But what you see right now in politics really is that the media will build a frame. Like when I launched my podcast, they said, Jaime Harrison going to be the Joe Rogan of the left. I never uttered Joe Rogan's name, right? But the media wants to create these dynamics and this and that. I've never watched Joe Rogan's show other than little clips online. I don't want to be anybody but Jaime Harrison. And I want to have my show to talk about the things that I think are important, that I think people in the community want to talk about.
As a person who, has to focus on campaigns and stuff, how much influence do you think that those podcasts or even celebrity has on, candidates?
Well,
Everybody says he won the election because he went on all these different, the Theo Vons, the Flagrants when they do shows.
I think those things have influence on the margins, right? There are a lot of people who now get their media and their news from social media and podcasts and clips that they see on TikTok and Instagram and all of those different things. And so understanding that, most people these days, they get the bit of information that they do consume either through a little headline or they see a little clip for 15 or 20 seconds. Mm-hmm. And so knowing that means then the party has to adapt itself to understanding that's where the electorate is. That's how they're getting their information. And it is hard as hell. It's like, trying to turn a battleship to get the party to understand like where things are going and what you got to do. And so, I wanted to start when I was DNC chair, I wanted to start a YouTube channel called DTV, where we could have had shows at the DNC. We had this beautiful studio in the basement of the DNC, where we could have shows and we can bring in the Jasmine Crockett's and the AOCs and all that and different voices in the party that are reflective of the diversity of the party and talk about our stuff in our own words. Mm-hmm. But I got from some of the folks in the White House, well, we shouldn't spend resources on that, right? Mm-hmm.
How come Merrick Garland doesn't get any smoke?
He should get plenty of smoke.
Now we talking, Jaime. Okay.
I wish Doug Jones would have. I thought that was the biggest mistake of the Biden administration, appointing Merrick Garland. And it's because we always want to be like the above the fray. We always want to be like, well, let's do it by the book. Let's do it academic. But sometimes, you got to fight, right? Yeah. You just got to fight. And I wish Doug Jones or somebody of that ilk would have been the attorney general because Merrick Garland was awful. He was abysmally awful.
He didn't investigate the Epstein files.
Dropped the ball.
And he indicted Trump too late on January 6th because he didn't want to seem too political. Meanwhile,
what is Trump
President
doing?
Trump is out here like, I'm locking all y'all up.
Yep.
I'm locking all my political opponents.
Chris Christie, Bolton, everybody.
Obama.
Oh, everybody.
So why weren't y'all saying things like that, though? Like, why as the head, and I'm not saying you even got to say it publicly, Jimmy.
No. Well, listen, there were times in which, I said to the president or I said to the vice president or I said to the staff certain things. Like, I remember having a conversation with Anita Dunn on the TikTok stuff. I was like, that is dumb as hell for us in an election cycle to be going after TikTok. I was like, y'all wait until, if you're going to do something like that, do it after the election. Like, sometimes politically stuff, when you know that young people, that's where they're getting their information, and that's what they want. Like, why are we doing that? Like, why are we trying to do these things that make it even more difficult for us to win?
Yeah, but that's frivolous stuff. I'm talking about things like, hey, why isn't Merrick Garland going after this person that y'all told us is an existential threat, who we saw lead an attempted coup of this country on January 6th? President Biden, why are you saying things like you don't want, to investigate that matter?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because, Biden also, again, being 80 years old, coming from a different time in terms of our government, he was old school in terms of looking at, the difference or the line between the White House and the Justice Department. I mean, that's the way that things used to operate. But we now know that we're in a different era. Like, it is a different frame. And we see that Trump has turned all of that on his head. And that sometimes you got to lean in heavily on some of these things. And you got to get somebody over there who is not just who sees justice as being blind, but also is not politically naive as well. And that's part of the problem with Merrick Garland. I mean, I had problems with Merrick Garland when Barack Obama nominated him to go to the Supreme Court instead of nominating a black woman that time around, right? I thought that was a perfect opportunity for us to get a black woman on the Supreme Court. But again, we always are, as a party, we're always thinking ourselves out of things, right? So the calculus was, well, let's find some middle of the road guy that the Republicans are not going to oppose. And guess what they did? They opposed him.
Yeah. In hindsight, you admitted it already. You said Merrick Garland was terrible.
He was terrible.
Why can't you say that in regards to Biden not being a one-term president?
Well, because I listen.
Those two things are the reason. No. Those two things are the reason Trump is back in the White House.
No, I really don't.
Big part of it.
Listen, man, if folks would have, and this is the amazing difference between Democrats and Republicans. Trump got convicted 34 times, convicted felon. 34 times convicted felon. Did you hear a peep from the Republican Party the next day saying that Donald Trump should not be our nominee?
No, because they knew he could win. That's the difference.
Well,
there were so many of us who knew Biden couldn't win.
But
that's the difference.
No. How did they know that he could win when he lost in 2020?
Who? Trump?
Trump.
Because you could clearly see the momentum between the two candidates.
Man,
we all had this conversation.
Momentum in politics goes just like it goes just like that.
But
you could see that, Jaime.
That's the same reason why
they wasn't messing with Biden. We knew that.
And that's the same reason why when during 107 days, people thought Kamala was going to, make this break fast to win because of the momentum.
At the same time as Trump conviction, that was around the same period that Joe Biden gave that State of the Union speech. When everybody was like, "Oh, goddamn, that was a good State of the Union speech." I have not heard a better State of the Union speech than that time.
I've never heard
that.
That.
Didn't mean he could win.
Yeah.
No,
I never thought he could win.
Well, regardless of whether you thought it or not, his numbers were good. It was great.
We were just happy to see him get through it. I'm from Delaware, so I'm a big Biden supporter.
They were lying about the poll numbers.
Yeah, it was.
I read the original sin.
Man, the original sin is a bunch of shit. I mean, that's talking about.
Your podcast gonna be feisty. Keep going.
Come on. I mean, like Alex Thompson and Jake Tapper. Seriously?
I'm just telling you what
Seriously.
I read. I don't know why.
A bunch of anonymous sources, because nobody wants to go on record to say anything. Mm-hmm. Anonymous sources. I can tell you, in my book, there won't be anonymous sources. It's straight from me.
Can I say something, though?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Whoever the future of the party is, whoever's going to lead the Democratic Party.
And the DNC won't pick them. The American people will.
You have to be able to throw that old regime under the bus. You're going to have to. You're going to have to be willing to throw that old regime under the bus and talk about all the things that they got wrong.
Yeah, but why don't we talk about, see, this is the thing. Let's talk about the stuff that we're getting right. Part of the reason that the brand for the party is, there are a lot of reasons the brand for the party is suffering. But part of the reason is that we are always, like, if you look at the Republican side on the flip side, they are not talking about, well, we got this wrong the last time and we get this wrong. Man, they get shit wrong all the time.
But
they don't talk about it. Part of the reason why they win is because they're not talking about it. It's like you got a brand new car and every day you throw mud on it. And then after 3 months, you be like, well, why is my car not shining anymore? Mm-hmm. It's because you throw mud on it every month. Like, Republicans don't throw mud on their car. But Democrats, man, we will hand wring and be like, oh, I wish we would have done this and I wish we'd done that.
Y'all fault.
Lean into what you do and that you are doing well and have that be your lead
but
foot
that's y'all
instead
fault
of
for being the party of purity.
Well, I don't know about
when you walk around and act like you the party of purity and y'all don't get anything wrong and you don't lie about nothing, then people are going to hold you to a different standard.
We can't be the party of purity on one side and then whine and complain about all the stuff that we get wrong the next time. That's those two things can't coexist in the same space.
So who do you like in 2028? What candidates do you like in 2028?
To be honest, I don't know yet. I really don't know yet. I mean, there are going to be so many people who come through South Carolina.
You don't at least have like a person.
I think
you sat down with one person. People love West Virginia. People love West Virginia.
Democrats don't know whether they coming or going. This is terrible.
Oh, come on, man. This is the same stuff that happened in 2020. This is the same stuff that happened in 2008. It's the same stuff that happened, right after in 2008 when the Barack Obama, you had like 12 people run then, you had 20 people run in 2020.
But there's a lot of formidable candidates out there.
But
the problem is the Democratic brand is so toxic and disgusting and bad.
It's because we sit here and talk about how toxic and bad it is instead of talking about the good stuff that we actually do, man. That's part of the problem. Again, like, your brand is going to be bad if every day all you do is talk about how bad things are.
You think they got it wrong on the border?
Oh, yeah. There are things that we should have done better on the border. Yes, I agree with you.
Do you think they got it wrong talking about Bidenomics when they know that people weren't feeling that in their pockets and they know that people weren't feeling that, at the grocery store?
I think what they should have done is what I said earlier, which is connecting the economics, people to the economic stuff that they got done. Then I think people would have felt better about it, right? Because they know that this stuff is going on. Like, on the stimulus checks. Like, the Biden stimulus checks were far bigger than the stimulus checks coming from Donald Trump. He should have. Mm. And that's one of the things he regrets. He said, I wish I would have left. And this is a lesson we should have learned in Obama, because you all remember when Obama was president, we passed that big stimulus bill, and then all this money was flowing into all this other stuff, and Obama didn't take credit for it. He did not take credit for it. So you would have thought then Democrats would have learned from 2008 in 20 to do better, but we don't.
One thing we know, Democrats don't learn.
No, we can be a bit hard-headed in that extent, but I'm hoping, and I think this new generation of Democrats that we have, who are scrappier, who are willing to fight, who are willing to do what is necessary, will learn the lessons from.
It's just hard to believe y'all, Jaime, now, simply because we know what y'all watched the last 4 years. Even when I see somebody like Corinne Jean-Pierre come out with her book, and I'm like, You sat up there and lied for him all of this time, and now you want to be honest and say you an independent, and it's the same. All of y'all did that for the last 4 years.
Charlamagne, I ain't lie about a damn thing.
Well, you ain't tell the truth.
Well, what?
You just kept quiet.
Okay.
Don't let him talk to you like that, Jay.
No, come on, man.
Did you try to tell the truth and they just didn't listen? Because I also saw that you said you were taken for granted. You were a rubber stamp.
Yes.
So were you telling the truth? And if so, what were you telling the truth about?
Well, telling the truth about where we are, where the electorate was, things that we needed to do. I mean, when I tell you this job, in many ways, great opportunity to connect with folks, but also extremely frustrating because you can see the things. It's almost like you see a car wreck that's happening and you're yelling and screaming and it's like nobody's listening, right? Because only, again, the select few, those people in the bubble who thought they know better. I give you a perfect example. I have here Ernie who's helping me write my book. I remember, you all remember the January 6th and all. Mm-hmm. So the anniversary of January 6th was in 2022. And I wanted this ad, and after the show, I'll play it for you guys. This ad that really goes after the Republicans on January 6th. And I wanted the DNC to play this ad because, I told the folks at the White House, I said, I want you all to know that black folks are watching how we handle this situation. Because we know if all those people who broke into the Capitol, beat the shit out of the police officers, defecated all over the walls and the floors and did all this stuff, if those folks were black, it would have been the bloodiest day in the history of this nation.
Absolutely.
And I told the folks at the White House, my conduit, I said, black folks are watching and how we Democrats handle this situation. Are we going to be forceful in terms of pushing back against it and making sure that we hold people accountable for it, or are we going to brush it on the rug? And I was told when I had this ad, and the ad it wasn't as hard. I knew that they wouldn't go for the real hard ad that I wanted. Mm-hmm. So it was sort of a mid-level, but it went in a little bit, but a mid-level ad. And they were like, well, we don't think the DNC needs to do that. We don't need to focus on that right now. And my pushback to them is, folks, I want you to understand this. Like, we are trying, we need to send a signal to our folks that we see you, we hear you, we're going to fight for you. And just as hard as the Republicans are fighting against you, we're going to be fighting for you. Like this, by brushing that under the rug and saying, well, we shouldn't talk about that right now. Let's talk about Bidenomics or something to that extent. I mean, that is sending a signal to our folks is that, you really don't give a damn.
There's a perception.
Let me ask you a question. What do you feel he's not being truthful about? Because you said you didn't feel like he was being truthful. What do you think?
He's not being truthful about the condition that they know President Biden was in.
No, man, Charlamagne, I just fundamentally, you can ask anybody, you can ask my wife. I just fundamentally disagree with that. Like it just pisses.
It's hard for me to believe that
it just pisses
personalities like us I've never met Joe Biden, just watching him on television.
Oh, they canceled me for that. Remember?
Well, he's old.
It's just crazy that all of us can come to this conclusion, but y'all were with him every day. I was calling for him to step down in 2023 for no other reason other than you will not win the election in November 2024.
Charlamagne, like, of course. Like, I've been on record. He's old. I get it. He is old. He walks, he's old.
It wasn't just about the age.
It's not just about the age.
But there's a lot of things, right? Like, there's a perception that the DNC is too tied to corporate donors and special.
Yeah, man, that's bullshit, too. Oh, okay, tell me. Pull the records. Pull the receipts.
DNC or Democrats?
No, you said the DNC.
I said Democrats.
You said the DNC.
No, I didn't. I said Democrats.
Didn't he say the DNC? Roll the tape.
I don't know what he said.
I think he said y'all.
You said the DNC.
I meant Democrats.
Okay,
I'm sorry. I meant Democrats.
No, because you're saying that the DNC is corporate.
You're right. So let me ask the question again. There's a perception that Democrat politicians are too tied to corporate donors and special interests.
Yeah.
So how can the party claim to fight for working people while taking so much money?
Well,
Silicon Valley?
There are some Democrats in Congress who do take corporate PAC dollars like they do and in part of their fundraising. That happens. But when I can't control what individual members do, right? But in the end of the day, if these people are still passing health care and they're not fighting for tax cuts for these wealthy corporations and all that. They're actually trying to increase the taxes on some of these folks. It's kind of hard to say that these people aren't fighting for their constituents, man. Right? So, again, I can only control what I can control within my sphere, right? I know what the DNC did and what I tried to push the DNC to do in my time, which is focus on working people, focusing on people like my grandparents, focusing on people like my aunts and my uncles and my cousins and nieces and nephews in South Carolina, trying to make life better for them. That's the party that I was happy and proud to be the chair of.
Okay, can I ask you this question?
Yeah.
Was there a private deal between the DNC and the Harris campaign that you would cover $20 million in her bills?
No. So basically, and I saw Shane's newspaper article. So looking at the finances there are some joint finances between the DNC and a presidential campaign. When they come together, they create what was called a joint fundraising committee. So there's bills that they share, right? So some polling, some advertising, some things, so that they can jointly fundraise money. And I know that your folks are going to get a little eyes glazed. That is because they form a joint fundraising committee because that allows them to raise more money collectively than they could as individuals, right? It allows then the DNC to go to some of its the donors who can write $1 million check, right? And then they send that money to the DNC. It's dispersed. Are those corporate
donors?
No. Okay. They're individuals. There's folks that...
So individuals can write $1 million checks?
Yes.
Okay.
Individuals can write $1 million checks because the way that the finance laws, and that's something that we really need to take a look at, but the way the finance laws work is there's a certain amount that they can give to the DNC. There's a certain amount they can give to every state party, and all of that money is collective, and then we can use that money on behalf of the presidential candidate. So it's a joint fundraising committee. So that means then sometimes there are joint fundraising expenses that come out of it. So expenses that we share. So coming off of Kamala's race, there were some outstanding bills that we still had that were joint bills together between the DNC and the Kamala's race. And our agreement was to pay the remaining of some of those bills.
Was it $20 million?
No. When I left, it was about $5 million. So now I can't speak about any other whatever, but when I left, it was about $5 million. Which in the grand scheme of things, $5 million is a lot for us as individuals, but in this campaign universe,
do you think we need to get corporate dollars?
Yes.
Okay.
I do believe that we need massive, and we would have done that had we passed the John Lewis and all the other bills that Democrats voted unanimously for in the House, but we couldn't get it past the Senate because of filibuster, because of Manchin and Sinema. So I do believe that. Listen, I raised $132 million when I ran for U.S. Senate. I mean, when I think about how much money that is and what that could have done in South Carolina, that's sinful, that amount of money, $132 million. I think we need to cap the amount that we use in our elections. No other country on the face of this planet spends as much money in campaigns as we do.
Is the DNC beholden to billionaires too much? Or just wealthy people in general?
No, I mean...
Because there's no working class person writing $1 million check.
No, but the bulk of the money that the DNC raises is from folks who are giving $5 and $10. Like the sheer volume. Probably about 30% of the DNC's money that it gets, it comes from major dollar donors, right? People who can write $25,000 above. The number of people who can write $1 million check, maybe it's 100, 200 people. Like it's not a lot. And those people, basically, I've met with many of our large donors. They're not asking for anything policy-wise because the DNC is not a policy arm. Like we don't write policy at the DNC. The money that we use goes into the infrastructure of the party. And so many of those folks don't have any type of ask other than when, and we don't want to see Republicans take over.
Why am I getting your Substack? I didn't sign up for it, Jaime.
What?
Did you give money to the DNC?
Were you on my email list for my campaign? Yeah, I mean, listen, we have a campaign.
I don't think there's nothing wrong with it, by the way.
No. Well, listen, we work with Substack on my list, right? basically what I used was my campaign list. If you subscribe to my campaign or you help my campaign out, remember, I have an email list of over 7 million people coming off of my campaign. That's because, again, we raised $132 million. And a lot of people wanted to send Lindsey Graham home. And so now, since I'm on Substack, since I got my and we haven't talked about At Our Table, the podcast, make sure you go wherever.
We're talking about it the whole time.
Yeah, wherever you get your podcast, make sure you subscribe. So basically, and I'm writing every week. Every week I'm writing a piece about, last week I wrote one about identity, the quote-unquote identity politics. This week I have one on how the 2006 elections and the 2026 elections may mirror each other. So we're doing that on a weekly basis. So
do you think
if folks don't want it, just unsubscribe?
I mentioned AIPAC earlier, so I want to bring it up again. Do you think AIPAC and like other powerful lobbies like that have too much influence over Democrat leaders?
I think there's
and the party's agenda.
No, I think AIPAC has a lot of power over both parties, right? Or people in both parties, because I don't want to use the party as a whole, as a label. There are people in the parties in which AIPAC is very influential on, in both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. And so, organizations like that probably do have a little too much influence. And the only way that we curb that is to change the campaign finance laws in this country. So that it is more grassroots focused and oriented and less about these big PACs that have come up. I think one of the worst things was the Citizens United decision, because it made it into a wild, wild west and allowed folks with who could raise this money, unlimited influence to impact elections, to impact campaigns, to influence our members of Congress. So, I think if Democrats can take back the House and the Senate, but also get past the filibuster, because the big problem that we have right now is a lot of the bills that we wanted to pass to curb some of the stuff, you can't because it gets filibustered in the U.S. Senate.
If Democrats lose again in 2026 or 2028, should the party completely rethink its leadership structure, even the role of the DNC itself?
Charlamagne, in the history of this country, you win the DNC I think is 170 years old. Like, you're going to win elections, you're going to lose elections. Winning elections and losing an election isn't something new that happens, right?
It's different, though. So you got you got to admit this is different.
Donald Trump is different, right? The question is, once Trump's gone, does it go back to the way that it has gone to the past? That's a big question. I don't know that. But one of the things I tell folks is, yes, there's an urgency of the moment, but like you can't freak out about like all hell's gone loose in terms of like the parties and how they operate, right? I do think there's some fundamental changes that need to happen. I think, when I go back to the DNC, part of what I want to do is put some reforms in to separate out, to give the DNC a wall between a presidential campaign and the DNC, or a president and the DNC. Because I think the DNC has to focus more, not just on the White House, but on the entirety of the party. And I don't think we do that when we have the White House.
And I just want to ask you to be clear. So you said the DNC has never taken corporate dollars in the past?
No, the DNC, I don't know if there is some...
No corporate PAC money.
There may be some corporate PAC money.
No, you said there wasn't.
No. But you said that the DNC was controlled by corporate PAC money. If there is corporate PAC money, it's probably less than 5% of the money that the DNC.
No dark money influence. No.
But what do you mean? Like you throwing out buzzwords, but I don't know how you mean.
I'm just asking a simple question. Has the DNC ever taken any corporate PAC money?
No, DNC has taken corporate PAC money in the past. All of the parties have taken corporate PAC money. But when you look
just mean that they're not controlled. They're
not controlled by that, right? Because if it's a small percentage, I can give you $1. That doesn't mean you're going to do what I told you for that $1.
Gotcha.
Because I know you're getting paid a whole lot more, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, If you want more of this, you can check out his new podcast
At Our Table.
At Our Table.
with
Probably gonna take
Jaime
this week
Harrison.
And also check out Jaime Harrison's documentary In the Bubble that I executive produced.
Yes,
by the
you
way.
did.
Salute to Emily. Emily's in the building.
Emily Harrell.
Emily Harrell is
Emily
here
just
as well.
said clearly she didn't want to be on camera, but okay.
I not just shouted her out. She ain't got to put her on camera.
Right. Well, sorry, Emily.
It was a pleasure, Jamie. Don't be a stranger.
No, I would love to come back, and when the book comes out,
Please do.
But in Charlamagne, I would love to have you, as my South Carolina homeboy, be a guest on At Our Table. Let me ask you the questions.
I'd love to do it.
Okay.
I enjoyed your conversation with Hunter Biden.
No, it was good.
Yeah.
It was really good, and it was good to get Hunter unfiltered, and he had a lot to say. He had a lot to say, and I think he's he's a good guy. He just and maybe I don't know if it's just, look, I have family members who've had drug addiction issues and problems, right? And
they're very honest.
And they're very honest. They're very honest.
What are you saying?
What?
Just say it, Jamie.
No, I'm just saying.
The crackheads are honest.
Oh, man.
Jesus Christ. It's Jaime Harrison. It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.
Hold up. Every day I wake up, wake your ass up. The Breakfast Club.
Y'all finished or y'all done?